Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. One of the most hurt ex-cabinet member, ex-minister, is none other than Moses Kuria. And since William Ruto dissolved the cabinet and formed the new cabinet, Moses Kuria fell victim of those changes, and ever since, he's been trying to make his way back to government. So you remember the meetings with Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga was even saying that some people that are looking for him, asking him for some job. So remember the meeting with Raila Odinga, and he's been trying to, find himself, try to bring some relevance in the political discourse. I've seen him supporting some referendum that it is time to amend the constitution. These are the people, likes of Moses Kuria, are the ones that at the height of BBI, they will do all manner of scripts and spins and narratives to make sure that BBI was not a success. So in this podcast, I want to show you Moses Kuria is kneeling down and is really looking for President Ruto to maybe, he's looking for President Ruto to get his way back. But I want to show you how really what crafted his downfall, what brought his downfall. It will be interesting for you, I can tell you that. Today, Kuria went to Nandi. And this photo here is a photo with the Nandi Governor Stephen Sang. And he was in Nandi. It is not a coincidence that it is the same day that William Ruto was also in Nandi to launch, I don't know the launching, to view some water projects that was already ongoing there. So Moses Kuria met the governor, and after there, they also attended another function, which is a burial ceremony in Eldai, the constituency to Marian Kentany. So there were reports that he did not, he wanted to attend the event, the president's event, for that water project, but he did not succeed. And the governor, they parted ways, the governor attended the other one, but he was not in the event where William Ruto was launching that water project, with really information coming out that probably he was locked out by the president's handlers, or rather on that, because the mission by Moses Kuria in Nandi was to seek audience with the president. He was seeking audience with the president. Remember, he had complained earlier in Citizen TV that communication, since he left cabinet, communication was cut. And after that, while speaking that burial ceremony, he spoke, he had some cryptic words on really whether they should leave government, and now dragging the emotional connotations that they normally bring forward, especially when trouble looms.
If we have a country, at least we have a chance of having a better government. But if you have a government without a country, a government is of no use to anyone. So I think it is very important tumuelewe rais, tuelewe vile nchi ilikuwa na vile nchi iko. Na pia najua kwetu kwa Kikuyu tunasema mtu ambaye hasafiri anafikiria chakula mzuri ni ya mama yake peke yake. So watu ambao wameingia kwa serikali si pia tu wana vile wanaweza kufanya kazi. Pengine wako na miujiza mambo ya madeni, pengine wako na miujiza mambo ya ushuru, pengine wako na miujiza bei ya petroli itashuka. Wakati mwingine unaweza kufikiria unajua, lakini wakati mwingine unakaa kando, unaona vile wengine watacheza hiyo ngoma. Na hii Kenya sio mtu mmoja, hii Kenya ni sisi zote. Nyinyi mnajua, mlikuwa mmewaambiwa ya kwamba watu wa mlima wanajipenda. Watu wa mlima hawawezi wakapigia mtu mwingine kula. Na nyinyi sio wageni hii Kenya. Mnajua ile vitisho ilikuwa. Watu wengi Kenya yote lakini sana sana sisi viongozi wa mlima ambao tulisimama na rais tulipitia machungu, mateso. Hiyo victimization nimesikia hapa. Ni sisi viongozi sana sana wa mlima Kenya na nyinyi hapa watu wa Rift Valley. Nakumbuka wakati akina Henry walikuwa wanapelekwa kotini, upande wa washtakiwa ingekuwa rahisi kuongea na Kikale kuliko Kizungu, because wote walikuwa Wakale. People have suffered, and that is a fact. Tunaomba, hatutaki kuendesha hii gari tukiwa tumeangalia kioo ya nyuma. We must move forward, and we cannot be a country to be led by bitterness. Hakuna kitu iko na hasara kama machungu. Mswahili anasema hasira ni hasara. Hatuwezi kuwa nchi ya kuongozwa na hasira ya ile ilitokea, nani alidhulumu nani, lakini we must learn something from that history. Anasema hivi kwa sababu wakati sisi tulikataa minyororo ya ukabila ambayo ilikuwa tunaelekezwa hapo, wakati tulikuwa tunafunzwa tuache maadili ya mapenzi, tuchukue maadili ya kufikiana, na tukakataa. Sisi vile rafiki yangu mmoja anasema, katika hii serikali ya William Ruto, sisi watu wa mlima tulinunua shares. And let me tell you something, hakuna mahali tunaenda. Mkitufukuza kwa mlango tunaingia kwa dirisha. Mkitufukuza kwa dirisha tunaingia kwa chimney. Tuko hapa ndani ya hii serikali. Hakuna mahali tunaenda. Unajua, shareholder yule ambaye ako na akili, hata kama unataka kutoka kampuni, si unaitisha dividend. Si unauza share zako. Sio kuvunja kampuni. Naona watu wengine walikuwa wanasema ni shareholder, sasa wataka tuvunje kampuni. Mimi nasema na huyu Tiroko alikuwa mtu hesabu kama mimi, hiyo ni hesabu ya kuanguka.
So you can see what he's saying there. We were persecuted together. So we formed this government. We are going nowhere. If you are chased, we'll come through the window. What is he saying there? He's saying that he wants to get back to government. Technically, he's out of government. By the way, ask Mwangi Kiunjuri. Mwangi Kiunjuri was in the cold. After he was sacked from cabinet, he was in the cold for long. So, is out. After that, Moses Kuria was back in Nairobi. After that, attending that funeral in Nandi, he came back to Nairobi. And in Nairobi, he was now officially handing over to Muturi. Remember, I had analyzed earlier that there was a delay. Quite a number of those cabinet appointees had declined even to do that official handover. That transition, they're not done. So before the induction exercise that was being done in the National Defense College in Embakasi, that process of handing over ought to have happened. You will realize that quite a number have not. I was just getting some grapevines and some handing over has been done without any camera or any photo that is to be taken, and that was upon the request of outgoing CSS. Now, here in Nairobi, I took cognizance that Moses Kuria is complaining about the lobbying queue, the bureaucracy in lobbying for any job. And of course, he chose now to bash the independent institutions, but it was part and parcel of that queue when he was in government.
But it's about time now to face it and ask. Today, you only can say, I want someone hired for this position. Then you totally lose control. Yeah, I have not seen any value or benefit that having an independent public service commission is having in this country. And certainly, it's one of the issues that we are going to look at when it comes to, us reviewing our constitution, because you are completely powerless. You hear as a ministry has sent something called an indent to public service commission. Interviews are happening. You have no idea. Yet you are the one who is in charge of this function of not just public service, but the new department, the new ministry, as aptly named Human Capital Development. Let me assure you, as we speak, that human capital development is just a theory until we look at this issue about the Public Service Commission. And when we are at it, and I can say this even on camera, people who are now hiding behind independent commissions and independent offices, it has become a den of corruption. It is a fact, and I've told chairman of Public Service Commission, and I've told the commissioners that they have some questions to answer to Kenyans, not to me. Yeah, there are rumors all over. If you want to be hired as a driver, it's 100,000 shillings. There's a price list. It goes all up to 5 million shillings for some sensitive positions. But you tell me, somebody who wants to be hired as a driver, where are they going to get 100,000 shillings? Yeah, that is now the benefit of this so-called independence of the Public Service Commission that we give ourselves through this constitution. So I would want Kenyans and all of us to ask ourselves, is buying a job for 100,000 shillings for a driver who is going to be paid 20,000 shillings, you ask them to cough 100,000 shillings in bribes? You know, it is totally morally unacceptable. Yeah, and I am not sure that the framers of this constitution, you and I included, I'm not sure that what we intended to do with this independence of the Public Service Commission is to enrich some people and to impoverish young Kenyans who have to pay 100,000 shillings to get the job as a driver. So that is something really that you, Ambassador Mushiri, and the team at the Public Service Commission, it's a rotten place. I have no doubt saying that. I have said it publicly. I have said it to them. If they were here, I would still say the same thing, that it is morally unacceptable that you cannot get any job without paying a bribe at the Public Service Commission. And most importantly, that was not the spirit and the intention of the framers of this constitution, that we have to scramble for, that you have to enrich some people and impoverish other people. Obviously, you had Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, my fellow evictee, what he said during the handover about the integration of the payroll. It is just unbelievable, Honorable CS, that now some people working in the ministries, not even in county government, that we deduct the pay as you earn, and the same is not remitted to Treasury. Treasury has been having issues, and the CS Njuguna Ndung'u reached out to me. We formed a task force, which I think PS is going to bring you up to speed. CS Ndung'u said it is not a small issue, it's a major issue, that having a payroll system that is not talking to our IFMIs is just another hamburger, another den for some funny games which are happening there. At this age and time also, our human resource systems have progressed a lot all over the world, and it is actually a return to Stone Age to have people developing things like payroll systems, HR systems internally. I refuse to go for that route. I was in the middle of changing that, and Treasury is committed to that. So it's about time to see this is just a human resource department, like any other company in the private sector, and really ask ourselves, where is the world going? Is the world going with some people with some funny laptops there, trying to develop some systems here? And resistance, as Jonah said, there has been a lot of resistance. I face resistance on that particular issue, and I wish you the best as you try to navigate that.
So he seems to be complaining. Yes, and I concur. Personally, I know what it means to lobby, guys. Hey, I'm telling you. Yeah, what it means to lobby. You can meet, you don't even know who to trust. You meet this person, that person says, I want 500,000. When that person says that job you need to get around 400, you need to get even to 1 million. And you don't even know who to trust. So what Moses Kuria is talking about is not something new to even many of us. Yeah, if you've ever lobbied, mpaka unafika interview, fanyiwa interview. And let me just say, yeah, I've also done some interview. I also did some interview not so long ago. When was that? Some few months ago, under Parliamentary Service Commission, hata nisiendelee. Now, so it's a problem. The lobbying is a big problem. Kuria came to government through political blackmail. And there is no other explanation to that. Remember, when Ruto started campaigning and that UDA was formed, he was formerly in UDA. And then he realized that UDA was crowded. Then came up with some party known as Chama cha Kazi, something. Now that Chama cha Kazi it was a test party for William Ruto. And that is the party that that is the party that won the Juja parliamentary seat, Kiumbiri. Kiumbiri won after that by-election. So he won that by-election in Kiumbiri and some MCA seats in Kiambu. Then after that, everyone went back to UDA. And he remained with that party called Chama cha Kazi. So, and of course, even during campaigns, of course he was vocal during campaign. And the way he used to bash and speak ill and do the reckless statements against Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, when William Ruto formed government, he realized that if I leave Moses Kuria out, I will not have peace. So, and that is not to mean that there is a problem with his competencies. I think he's one of the most accomplished accountants. By the way, if there is someone who can even lead treasury, is Moses Kuria. But his brand of politics attracts hate across the country. So that Chama cha Kazi, for lack of a better word, was a scarecrow. It was used to scare Ruto, and that is why some people normally say, Ruto ni muoga sana. That Chama cha Kazi was just a scarecrow. And then, when he got to cabinet, he again survived with a lot of blackmail. And Rigathi has been complaining, Rigathi was really complaining about this. He got into cabinet, and then William Ruto gave him one of the biggest cabinet slots. He was given money to move across Africa, meeting some African president. Then he was elevated. And Moses Kuria became bigger than anyone in that cabinet. So this is what happened. This is how the downfall of Moses Kuria was crafted by William Ruto. And he crafted it clearly, and Kuria fell for that trap. Fell for that trap. With all the cautiousness and the cautions he seems to say he has, he fell for this Ruto's craft. Ruto decided to pick a strategic position like that of cabinet. Because for you to be in cabinet, one condition that he had to do was to fold that party. So that party was folded. He closed that show and then joined cabinet. So when immediately he was denied that party, he doesn't have a political, he actually cut links with the political grassroots. Because most people that were around him when he was vying for governor in Kiambu were the networks that he had built around that small party. And in fact, folding that party also created orphans. The people that had won some seats, some MCA, I think, MCA slots through that seat, they were left orphans. So he cut links with them. He got a cabinet slot, and even despite of getting that cabinet slot, there was nothing he could do for his foot soldiers under that small party, because he never got to government through that party. His initial plan was that in power sharing, there will be UDA, then there will be Chama cha Kazi. But that is not what happened. Himself, he was told, just like Kingi, you need to close that shop. So now that he's out of cabinet, he doesn't have a political party. I can tell you, if Moses Kuria would be having a political party, currently you would have seen something like some grassroots, programs, meeting party officials here and there. He'll be doing some party activities. And that has cut him completely out of touch, the things to do. And of course, reinventing himself back in the political scene has created a problem. And that is why you can see that he's hanging around Raila Odinga under the guise of that referendum, that if that referendum materializes, probably he will get something with it. And that, they immediately lost that party. That was strategy number one. The second thing, Ruto glorified him in that Ministry of Trade and Industrialization during the time it was ready to do the corruption. In fact, he was trapped in corruption. And President Ruto knew that immediately these fellows will get to government, they will start making wealth. The first corruption scandal that hit the Kuria docket was sugar, contraband sugar, that disappeared in some, it came from Mombasa. It was supposed to be used to make ethanol. It was taken to some warehouse, then it disappeared. That was the first one. And before we knew, there was a deal to bring in some GMO maize and all this. And even that, in fact, the recent one is the edible oil, the 2 billion edible oil. In fact, that edible oil is a scandal that is going on, and some junior people, some some corporations that were in it, the CEOs are already saying we are willing to split the beans. So Moses Kuria may want to hit Ruto, but he knows that Ruto has a file. Ruto has a file that can be pulled, and they say, Kuria, come here, I have this file. Let's start talking from here. So that is also one of the things that happened. That ministry of trade and industrialization elevated him above everything and everyone. He was meeting African presidents. So by the time he was coming back in the country, and Kenyans were asking, Ruto, today you see Kuria meeting the president of Egypt, Uganda, he's in Uganda, he's in South Africa, he's in Botswana, he's in Dubai. And then people are saying, the roles that are supposed to be done by the deputy president have been given by Moses Kuria. The moment Moses Kuria came back to settle in Nairobi, he realized, now he all of a sudden became bigger than Rigathi. And that was his first undoing. The other thing is Rigathi antagonism completely dampened Moses Kuria. In fact, I want to tell you this. There is something I've realized about Rigathi. I don't buy his bragging about Naskiza ground. But there is a way Rigathi connects with the people. And there is something he does that Moses Kurias and the likes don't do. And in fact, kuna kitu in Kijeli inaitwa bodhongwech. Bodhongwech is realizing that there is a danger. We've done something together. And after doing something together, and we realize that all of us are going to be responsible for the mess. So what I do, I run fast, then leave you. Now that is what Rigathi Gachagua did. Rigathi Gachagua realized that Kenya Kwanza administration had gone unpopular. And completely, they had failed to meet their targets and what they had promised to the people. So what he did, he ran away. After running away, then going to the people and saying, I've left those guys there and they're not listening to the ground. When in real sense, he was in the table. He was attending cabinet meetings that were passing everything that Kenya Kwanza is doing. Then he came off from that table, went to Kenya, then went to Mount Kenya and told Mount Kenyans that mimi ndio nasikiza ground. The people that have led up behind me there are not listening to the ground. So he applied that trick. So by the time Moses Kurias were pushing that antagonism, it was too late. And in fact, he had a better political, ground than Kurias, because for him there is no caveat on his politics, on how far he can politic. Kuria was in cabinet, so there was a limit as to what extent he would get. And of course, he would get the platform to speak with the president. But Moses Kuria lacked a bit of that. So the Rigathi antagonism worked against him. I do believe that even though Rigathi did not have a say in who was to be picked in cabinet from Mount Kenya, but it was easy to dismiss Moses Kuria because Moses Kuria was an enemy to Rigathi. Those are things that Rigathi sits and Rigathi smiles or nimemtoa. That worked against him. Lastly is Ruto designated Kuria as a cabinet policy whip. Every policy, and let's just use these two. Remember when the country wanted to import GMO? That was under Ministry of Agriculture. It was purely under the Ministry of Agriculture. But it was Moses Kuria to start talking about it. And defended, and Kenyans were asking, we don't want GMO. But Moses Kuria was saying, there are many million ways to things killing people in Kenya. And if GMO will kill pepper, will kill Kenyans, we will bring it. You remember that? The second one is G2G, the Saudi Arabian deal. And Kenyans were saying, has it met its expectation of lowering or rather stabilizing the cost of energy, the cost of fuel? Moses Kuria was the one running, whipping cabinet policies And that was a big mistake because it turned him against the people. Yes, people saw him that this is a man that is just rubbing it in our face. And so I don't know whether he will be able to make his way back, but clearly, if you ask me, the downfall was actually coming. It was just a matter of when, not if. Thank you.